Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. First show of the offseason. Officially. The offseason. The Las
Feels
Vegas
weird.
Show. Episode 225. All offseason discussion from now until late August. It does feel weird, but also exciting. Like, when was the last time there was a boring Raiders offseason? You know? Never. It just doesn't happen. And it's going to be a wild ride this offseason. It's like when it's an 8-9 year, sometimes it gets, and it was a wild year, right? With Chandler Jones and Josh McDaniels getting fired, Dave Ziegler getting fired, the rise of Antonio Pierce, the 180 of the defense. Like, it was a wild year. But this is poised to be an extra wild offseason with head coaching search, GM search, offensive coordinator, needing a quarterback. Who knows what Mark Davis is going to do? Every year we have a player go AWOL. Which one's it going to be? That should be one of our questions of the day. Which player on the Raiders roster is going to lose his mind this season? Because every year a player loses his mind. Who it is.
Oh, man. I think I don't want it to be, but I think Jack Jones is a good candidate.
Yeah, there you go. He's already he's already got history, He already got history. Question of the day, because the season is over, it is time to reflect. It is a moment to look back. We're looking in the rearview mirror. Normally, we're looking through the windshield, look into the future, what's ahead of us. But it's the first show of the offseason. Let's look in the rearview mirror. Let's take a look back, reflect, and learn, if we can, about what the season was like. What letter grade do you give the Raiders for the 2023 season? A, B, C, D, F. Soto, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go second. You go first.
Okay. I'm going to say, and it's a boring answer, I'm going to say C+. So we didn't make the playoffs, had a losing record. It's really hard to give it's really hard to give a high grade when that's really all that matters. Lots of wins, advance into the postseason. That's the biggest thing. And we didn't accomplish that. But what do I always say, Soto? It's not where you are, it's where you've been and where you're going. And there's a lot of reason for optimism for that. Just firing Josh McDaniels is a giant W for this team. The rise of Antonio Pierce is big for this team. The defense and what it was able to do is all trending in the right direction. Salary cap, pretty good situation. Basically all of our draft capital, more or less. And also, there's two things that matter when it comes to the Raiders. Context is important. 8 wins, sadly, Soto, is tied for the third most wins we've had in a season since we went to the Super Bowl 20 years ago. Expectations move around, right? Like, how stoked are we that we had the 9th best points per game defense in the NFL? If we were the Ravens or the Patriots or like the Steelers, that'd be a letdown. But after 20 years of terrible defense, it's a reason for optimism because we're heading in the right direction, right? What direction are we going in? I say C+.
Yeah. So there are a couple ways you want to look at it, right? You can look at it from just in a vacuum, just this season by itself, nothing else, right?
Yep.
You can look at where we were to going through where we are now and where it looks to be trending in the future. If you look at it from that perspective, I can see us getting a solid B.
Yep.
Because I think we're set up to going forward. We're set up to have to be that team that we were, in the past, where we were a perennial playoff team, battling for the conference championship. And hopefully battling for some Super Bowls. We talked about when we were talking about getting a quarterback, right? We're moving on, this and that. We talked about what would be the prime thing to do, the prime situation for a young quarterback: a strong defense and weapons on offense. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we have. So that's what we've shown that we have. So we have the shell to bring in the quarterback that we need. If I think that the Josh McDaniels era was needed to kind of get that fresh start and to be able to catapult us. Because look, a couple of years after Josh McDaniels was gone from the Broncos, they went to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know if that's just kind of like his thing, or he just like he just like you have to like burn down the forest so to prevent forest fires. You know what I'm saying? Like
you have to get syphilis to appreciate a good dick that you have.
I don't know about that. See, now you're just trying to like make it silly.
I'm putting it in terms I think you're trying to say, Soto.
No.
I'm saying what you're thinking.
No, not at all. No,
I can read your mind. Years of doing the show together, Soto.
Not what I'm trying to say at all. What I'm trying to say. It took someone with the mentality and the ego of Josh McDaniels to finally cut the cord and move on from a previous situation that will allow us to go further in the future. Mm-hmm. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
That is a hot take that I will let everyone kind of ruminate on. Question of the day: what grade do you give the Raiders this season? Let us know in the comment section. Dying to know. I already made a quick little poll as well. 63% say C. Only 2% say A. Only 3% say F. 23% say B. 63% C. 10% D. I think it's still, and it shouldn't be this way, but it is this way. If we would have lost to the Broncos, I guarantee you these grades would plummet. There'd be a whole lot of D's. There'd be some more F's, way less B's and C's. When I was fighting, whenever I was coming off of a win in my career, I'm like, I'm the best fighter in the world. I'm going to be UFC champion one day. There's no one that can touch me. I'm the king. If I was coming off of a loss, I'm the worst fighter ever. Why am I even doing this? What's the point of this anymore? I suck. I'm never going to be good. And I think that's true here. I think coming off of a win into the offseason is going to add way more optimism and positivity than it deserves. But optimism and positivity aren't bound by rules. You can have it for any reason. So that's the question of the day. Let us know. So obviously, head coach is priority one for the Raiders. Who the hell is going to be the captain of this ship? And it got me thinking, is the Raiders head coaching position attractive? There's only 32 jobs in the NFL for a head coach. So a lot of people want them. But when you're trying to get the best of the best, if you're trying to get the very best coach, you want to have a really great job. You want it to be a place where people want to land. There are currently 7 head coaching positions available. Raiders, Panthers, Titans, Seahawks, Falcons, Chargers, Commanders. Patriots probably, we're still going. But as of right, January 10th, 8:41 p.m. West Coast time, there's 7. I went to actionnetwork.com. I just Googled this, and this guy, Brandon Anderson, had this article ranking the 7 available positions.
All right.
Worst to first. You know who got worst? Raiders. Now, I was prepared to hear a logical conversation and some data points to be like, wow, I didn't think it was that bad, but let's hear what he had to say. And this guy's full of shit. A couple of things that he said. The Raiders have one of the worst quarterback situations in the league. That's kind of true. There's some truth to that. Jimmy Garoppolo never going to be the answer. Little reason to think Aiden O'Connell is anything at this point. Las Vegas Raiders pick 13th in the draft, too low to get a top quarterback, which is true. Within striking distance, but you're not going to probably get a top quarterback there. Although, if you believe in J.J. McCarthy or maybe Jaden Daniels falls, I mean, there's, Bo Nix, like these guys. Like,
what has J.J. McCarthy shown you to show you that he can be an NFL quarterback? He throws 12 times a game.
I mean, that's an exaggeration, but
he threw 13 times in the national championship game.
Yeah. Well, it's because Washington proved they can't stop the run. There's some truth to that. Like, look, I'm just saying there are a lot of scouts and experts that are like, yeah, J.J. McCarthy, I think he's got a future. And there's 32 scouting departments, right? Are there going to be a few of them that think he is? I don't know. We don't even know who our GM is. Maybe he's going to like him. My point being, there's 2 massively great quarterbacks. There's probably at least 2 more first rounders and maybe 5 first rounders at quarterback. So So to say we're not within striking distance of a good one, who knows? He also said, what talent does this roster have that will matter to the Raiders? Davante Adams is 31, still in his prime. Josh Jacobs is 26, in his prime. Maxx Crosby, obviously fantastic. There isn't much else, according to this guy. The roster is barren without answers, but it's producing. The defense was fantastic, despite the lack of stars and giant names. And then he starts getting weird. Also, don't forget the competition in the division. Andy Reid won't be around forever, but Patrick Mahomes will be. Justin Herbert will figure out how to win one of these years. The Broncos are a bit of a mess, but found some solutions this year and are pretty much always competitive. The Raiders are the fourth team in this division and have been for a while. We got second in the AFC West. We have made the Broncos our bitch for 4 straight seasons, and we keep splitting with the Chargers because they always find a way to fall apart. I will say that we're going against some pretty hated coaches, right? Depending on who the Chargers get. But to say we're the least attractive head coaching vacancy in football, what say you, Soto? Are we worse than the Panthers, Titans, Seahawks, Falcons, Chargers, Commanders?
If your view is you need to have the quarterback situation settled to be an attractive destination, then yes, because I think we have, because of our draft position and like what he said, because of the quarterback room currently, it's the worst position currently, but that's putting everything on who your quarterback is. Now, if you take a look at, a new guy comes in, he wants to get his own quarterback. Well, the Commanders have the 2nd pick. The Falcons have the 5th pick. The Seahawks, Geno Smith has been doing pretty well with how long are you going to ride with Geno Smith? Who knows? Titans got their guy in 2nd round last year. Panthers got the guy in 1st round. So the Chargers got their guy. So the Raiders quarterback position is the most up in the air, and it's also the least. They're in the least position to address it. So from that perspective, I can see why he would say that. The other stuff is assuming a lot. You're assuming that the head coach who comes in is gonna not keep Patrick Graham as defensive coordinator, who's shown he can take this group of players and get them to play at an extremely high level, right? So you're assuming a lot. You're assuming that, there's going to be a dramatic drop-off in Davante Adams' play coming right this next season. You're assuming a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think the team is a lot better than what he's giving the Raiders credit for, but he's not wrong about the quarterback situation. Not only do they have the worst quarterback room, I think, but they have the worst quarterback, the worst capital to address it.
I think quarterback there's certainly a lot of truth there. We'll see what happens with the Titans quarterback room. We'll see, who the Commanders get, Falcons, those are all still wild cards. But I will say this. It also depends what you're looking for as a coach. If you want an owner that's not going to meddle at all, I mean, Mark Davis will talk to you. Like he'll talk, but he doesn't make personnel decisions. He's not phoning down to the sideline saying throw the ball deep like his dad. Mark Davis.
You're taking a shot at Tepper, I think. With the
I'm taking many shots. Pew, 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 pew. I think city matters as well. I think a lot of people would like to live in Las Vegas as opposed to Seattle or DC, right? I think that matters as well. Chargers don't even have their own stadium.
Chargers
meddling owners.
A really sweet facility, though.
They do.
Facility.
They do. That's a priority for you. So he got some things wrong, but I think a big thing for any coaches coming in, of course, is the most important position in all of sports, and that is who's taking the snaps. And the Raiders don't know. The Raiders simply don't know who that is. Also, like if you're an offensive-minded coach, you're like, great, defense is taken care of. Let me do the offense. That makes it more attractive too, depending on that element as well. So the devil's in the details. If you're painting with broad strokes, I can see a case. And I didn't think it was for a while. I was like, yeah, like all we need is a quarterback and this thing's firing. But all you need as a quarterback is,
a lot.
All I need to be is a rich and famous, and I can bang Megan Fox. Like, that's all it takes. All I got to do is be rich and famous. Well,
just rich. She don't care about famous.
No,
just rich.
So the giant question, the most sought after and talked about NFL head coaching candidate isn't even in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh. Where's Harbaugh going to land? And too often, like, we keep talking about things in the context of, has Antonio Pierce earned the job? Who are the Raiders going to get? And I think we're looking at it all in the wrong direction. I think it needs to be more, where does Harbaugh land? And then the dominoes fall. I think that's I believe that's the smartest way to look at, like, trying to predict the future. Not who do the Raiders want? What has the AP done? It's where does Harbaugh go? And then I think everything else kind of filters from there. The dominoes start to fall. So it's important to address that first.
Okay.
It feels like there's a 92% chance that he lands with either the Raiders, Chargers, or stays at the University of Michigan. Maybe it's 90, maybe it's 93, maybe it's 91. There could be some wild cards out there. He wants to
overwhelmingly a higher probability chance.
One of those three places than anything else. I can't, him going to like the Commanders or Falcons. I don't know. It doesn't feel real to me at all. So what's the case for each one of them? Who has the strongest case for Jim Harbaugh? Generally, I'm of the opinion that holding serve is kind of the most obvious answer. Like he just won a national title with Michigan. That generally makes people think, okay, like, well, things are going well there. Maybe he'll stay there. And he's making a ton. Like, I went through how he's getting paid. Base pay, $7 million. $500,000 bonus for winning the Big Ten East. $1 million bonus for winning the Big Ten. $500,000 bonus for making it to the college football playoffs, and another $1 million bonus for winning the national title. And I didn't even know this was a thing. Michigan is required to contribute $1 million annually to a life insurance policy in his name. That
for you math majors, that's $11 million.
That's over $11 million that he made this season. And also, now that he's entering year 3, starting on Thursday, January 11th, which is probably when you're all listening to this show, his buyout drops from $225 million to just $1.5 million. Pennies.
Compared to what he's making, yeah.
Compared to what he's making, I think whatever owner is going to just front it. I think whatever, if an NFL owner buys him out, he's like, hey, I'll pay that. Done. Here's a check. $1.5 million. There you go, Michigan. Enjoy. Here's the thing against Michigan. He's got like 25 seniors on that team. He's basically going to like completely restart next season. And you still have all the potential punishments from like that isn't resolved yet.
That's the big thing.
Whole sign stealing scandal. That's not resolved. That's not resolved at all. So that's pro Michigan and that's anti Michigan. What do you think?
I think when you look at stuff like this, you have to follow the trail of crumbs, but you also have to look at incentives. Where does the incentives lead a person's decision? And I think that with Michigan winning the national championship, it almost solidified the fact that Harbaugh's going to the NFL. If he would have lost the national championship, there would have been something really big hanging in the air where he wanted to go back and win it. Now that he won it, okay, I wanted to bring Michigan back to its prominence. Okay, they've been in the playoffs the last 3 years. They won a national championship. Great. I did that now. That chapter has been done. That volume of the
that's what he said when he arrived. Like, what's your goal? Like, to bring Michigan back to prominence. And at the time, it sounded just like coach speak. Like you're talking to your alumni base, like guys that contribute money. Like you want to say things like that, but he did it.
He did it.
It seems like, okay,
maybe mission accomplished, right?
Yeah,
mission accomplished. So, with all that being said, there's also just put the bow on that box that was closed, right? Mm-hmm. To put a bow on it, he's probably going to be suspended for a good part, if not the entire season next year, if he stays in college. So with those two things, he's incentivized to go into the NFL.
Mm.
He's incentivized. He's not hotter. He's not a hotter prospect than just coming off a national championship. Yep. His incentive for leaving is, like you said, he had a senior heavy team. He's going to have almost a whole new team coming in, which it was more of an issue in the past because of the transfer portal, but also he has, if he stays, he has impending suspension. So why stick around for all that?
Yep.
So with all that, you put all that together, it leads to leaning towards him going to the NFL.
So let's say he does go to the NFL. It's probably Raiders or Chargers. Chargers have a quarterback. Raiders don't. That's a big thing for the Chargers. Cool stadium, which they don't own, but they play in it.
No matter.
And a better roster on paper. Despite the Chargers always floundering, they've always have players. Like they always got dudes, and they still do. A little old. Team's getting older, but they're there.
I mean, they've always had talent. Their issue has always been keeping keeping their high picks healthy. Mm-hmm. Their high picks are always getting hurt. Bosa's always getting hurt. Derwin James, Slater's getting hurt all the time. Like these guys are always missing games. Williams gets getting hurt. So it's tough to win when your best players are not consistently in the lineup.
On paper, the roster is certainly better. Certainly more stars. Quarterback there, very important. But there's two things, and I keep bringing it up, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but they're that important. The Spanoses always love to meddle. There's like kids in the family that like think they're GMs and want to meddle. That's why they keep hiring pushovers or like brand new guys like Staley, etc. Harbaugh's not going to put up with that. And two, they never pay coaches. They never pay a lot. And Harbaugh's going to want a king's ransom. So that's the for, and that's against. Raiders we kind of went over. For, obviously, is the story with his wife from Vegas. May want to go back. He has ties to the Chargers, too. He played there, but he has stronger ties, I feel, to the Raiders. An owner that's not going to meddle. An owner that's willing to pay. He'll be the third head coach he's paying all at one time. Mark Davis, Jon Gruden, the buyout, and Josh McDaniels getting paid for another 4 years.
I still can't believe we had to pay Jon Gruden after we were forced to fire him. I can't believe, or forced to tell him he was going to get fired if he didn't quit.
Yeah. The defense that's on the come up, and brilliant stadium. I think Mark Davis, they keep talking about how Mark Davis wants a splashy hire. He wants to make waves and wants a name. And Harbaugh is that guy, which I think will incentivize Mark Davis to go after him. So pros and cons of those three, Michigan, Chargers, and Raiders. If you're Harbaugh, what are you looking for? Where are you going and why?
Oh, man, that's a hard question, man, because it's hard for me to go against my heart on this. It's really hard for me. I think if I'm Harbaugh, I go to the situation that's going to allow me the opportunity to win the quickest and to win the most. Mm-hmm. And that opportunity for me, from being objective about it, is with the Chargers. Because you have a quarterback that, we don't know what Harbaugh thinks about Justin Herbert. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're assuming that he sees Justin Herbert as a high-level quarterback that he can win with. Mm-hmm. I think we can be pretty certain that he has more confidence in Justin Herbert winning games than he does in Aiden O'Connell winning games. Mm-hmm. Okay, nothing against Aiden O'Connell, but just a volume of work, right? So from that perspective, I can see Harbaugh going in there and pretty much, telling the Spanos, like, look, I can win in this league. I can get this done. You got to stay out of my way. Mm-hmm. I need to control this entire thing, and I can make it happen. I've done it before. Everywhere I've gone, I've won. I can make this happen. I've gone, he won at Stanford consistently for a lot of years when no one was able to win consistently at Stanford. And he went and did it. And
he's got athletes that actually have to go to class and still won at Stanford.
From that perspective, and you're looking at it from there, then it's going to be the Chargers. Mm-hmm. If you're going to hire him to be like, if you're going to give Jim Harbaugh the job that he wants, which is basically like the president. Like he controls everything. He's going to get the Jon Gruden deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's okay to pay him that much money because you don't have to fill it. You don't have to get a president for the team and pay them because you already had Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Right. You can pay a GM lesser money because they're not really the GM. They're more of an assistant GM or just a player personnel scout or whatever. They're like a lead scout or something like that. So you don't have to pay a big time GM because you have Harbaugh for that. Like same thing like Mike Mayock. You don't have to go out and get a great GM because he's not going to be the GM. From that perspective, I can see him picking the Chargers because it's a more ready to win now situation. If you look at the quarterback being the most integral piece.
Yeah, I think all three of those spots have something to offer. I mean, this all could just be to him just trying to get as much money in Michigan as possible. And that's what I thought for sure it was last season. Last season, I was like, remember last season, there's all off season. It was Harbaugh.
You gonna again? You gonna fuck around again?
You heard me say Harbaugh. Is what? Harbaugh? Did that rhyme with kibble?
Get out of here.
And that still could be the case. This feels a lot more like he's ready to move compared to last season. Last season, I sniffed it out a mile away. Like
he won, and he's going to get suspended. Yeah, of course. Why don't I stick around for that?
Yeah,
like in a casino, like Joe Pesci's like, yeah, they were sniffing around the house. I'm going to stick around for that. Like, I want to stick around. The FBI is sniffing around the house. What do I do that for? I'm going to stick around for all that.
So whenever Harbaugh does find his landing spot. Then it's on to the Raiders. And for a while, we've been saying, like, look, the Raiders are going to go for Mark Davis is going to go for Harbaugh. If he doesn't, he's going to get Antonio Pierce. That's probably what's going to happen, right? One of those two guys, he's swinging for Harbaugh. He can't get, he's going AP. I think you and I were both kind of like, yeah, sounds about right. That's probably the way he's going to go.
And it makes sense because, look, a couple years ago when we hired JMD, right? If we would have said instead, we got Harbaugh, we got Jesse Minter, who is a dope defensive coordinator. That freaking defense at Michigan is legit. Mm-hmm. So we get him, Jesse Minter, and Telesco to fill those three spots. We'd be freaking pumped, right?
Yep.
So I wouldn't be so like, because I want the AP package too. I want AP, PG, CK. I want those three in there because I think they can do a really good job. I think that. I wanted to save this for addressing the whole making a splash thing, but I guess I can do it now. Mark Davis has it backwards. He's doing it backwards now. When Al Davis hired John Madden, who had the same path as AP, right? John Madden was defensive coordinator at San Diego State. AP was defensive coordinator at Arizona State. Then they came the linebacker coach with the Raiders for a couple of years. And then, they got hired as a head coach, right? People were scratching their heads. Dude, why are you hiring this guy? This guy's young. He's like 40. He doesn't know what he's doing. This and that, blah, blah, whatever. The game's going to be too big for him. He doesn't know what he's doing. He goes out there, and when he retires, he was the best winning percentage of any coach in the NFL history, okay? That's the splash that you make because you make the right hire, not splashed by the name of the guy you hire before he even coaches a game. Mm-hmm. So it's a splash because I picked this guy, I groomed this guy, and this guy's winning for me. That's the splash. Mm-hmm. That's where we can go in with the attitude. It's not let me hire a big name, and he has it backwards. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, like obviously in hindsight, the Madden hire was brilliant, but at the time, you're like, it didn't make any sense, right? And obviously, it worked out. So it's like. We've got the benefit of hindsight when we're having this conversation. Like, yeah, it was a splash, but he turned into a splash 7 seasons later when he was crushing everybody, right? Like, I understand the notion splash in some contexts where they're great and they have a history of winning, and like that's all you can't predict the future, but you can go with what worked in the past. What I hate is this splash idea that Mark Davis, I think a lot of, and in fairness, Mark Davis has never said that, but so many people that talk to him and media members that analyzing it, they're like, oh, splash. They're in a market like Vegas. They need attention. It's like, are you trying to look good on billboards or win football games? Like, that's the part of splash that keeps
100%.
creeping into the conversation. It's like,
It doesn't make sense.
it's the highest selling resale ticket in the NFL.
And the thing is, too, I mean, this fan base, you're going to get this fan base pumped up and excited by winning. You know, they wouldn't care if you and I were coaching this team. As long as we were winning, they can care less, or they couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. And the splash, that only matters like a sick ass entrance in a fight. Only matters until the freaking bell rings. Okay, like after that, it's like the pyro and like the song and then the band playing you in and all that.
Unless you're Deontay Wilder and your giant robot uniform that weighs 80 pounds weighed you down, and that's why you lost.
Yeah,
and that's a bad splash.
That's why you lost.
That's why he lost. Not that he doesn't know how to box. It's that
he has no defense.
Robot. I would say Albert Breer is.
That's your boy, dude.
One of the more like sober thinkers of the sport. Like he has very few like hot takes. It's all pretty much like, look, this is what I've seen, this is what I feel, and this is why. So when he says things that kind of make my eyebrows raise, I pay attention. In his Q&A for SI this week, he was asked in his mailbag, most realistic GM and head coach for Raiders and why? And he says, a little hunch here, and I did not predict these two names, Vrabel, Gruden. He said, I think the Raiders take a swing at Harbaugh, and I think if they can't land a big fish like Vrabel, Harbaugh, or Belichick, then they probably stick with Antonio Pierce. AP, who has all of the players vouched for him, all of the media has vouched for him, just kind of bleeds silver and black, everything that Mark Davis wants the Raiders to be known for, doesn't even make the podium. He's the fourth choice in this scenario, according to Albert Breer. And I do understand why. Like, you've got, Vrabel, Harbaugh, Belichick, big names, successful guys. Two of them have won championships all over the place. But to say that, instead of Mark Davis saying, all right, I want the big splash with Harbaugh, or I'm going with the guy that's already here, he's saying, I'll take any splash. I'll take any big name out there. And if that doesn't work, then I guess I'll marry my side bitch. I did not see this coming.
Well, these guys know Mark Davis a lot more than we do. Mm-hmm. And we talked about when he made the decision to hire McDaniels and Ziegler, he just wanted to set it and forget it. All right, you guys can handle it. Okay, I'm out of this now, right? Yeah. Take it and go.
Which is what you want with an owner.
To an extent.
You don't want a meddling owner.
But also, you have to be able to identify talent. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to know what you're looking for. When I used to have my business and I used to do I used to audit people's businesses basically and their processes. And I would go in there and I'm like, okay, give me your traits and attributes of your top producers, or the people who do the best here. And you make a model. It doesn't matter what they've done in the past. If they can fit if they have these characteristics, these traits, then those traits, more so than production in the past, because they didn't work here. They didn't have your rules. They didn't have any, more so than the production in the past is these traits. If they show these traits are more transferable than being successful somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's what you look for. You look for the traits. And if Mark Davis knows what he's looking for, which probably he doesn't, or he believes people, or he wants to believe people, if Antonio Pierce has the traits that you're looking for, he exhibits the traits that you're looking for, he should be one of the top hires, because you've seen him with this group right here do it at a high level.
Yeah.
And I understand having previous success. I understand that having a track record is important, but nobody goes into a situation brand new with a track record. Okay, everyone had to start from ground zero and work up from there. It just so happens that he got a head coaching job, and skipped college altogether. And let's just be honest, Long Beach Poly's, that's close to college as you can get in high school. All right.
It's like coaching a D3.
They have like the most pro players in the NFL come from Long Beach.
And it's a wild team to coach. Like if you can wrangle up that insane clown posse, you've earned your stripes, dude. Like there's some great programs in Southern California, but you're looking at like Servite, Modern Day, Bosco, then like what's that Southern Orange County team? Why am I blanking? Not Santa Margarita, not a Catholic school.
Mission Viejo,
right? Like you get these like really, but these are all like all the quarterbacks are going to like the $5,000 a month quarterback school that their parents are putting. You know what I mean? Like these are like Long Beach Poly is the hood. It's like the hood go to Poly, and you need to be able to wrangle those guys up as opposed to these like kind of button up dudes. Tough team to coach.
Look, man, that's around there. It's like I grew up around there. Like I'm not scared to go into neighborhoods. There's a taco truck that's right across the street from Long Beach Poly, and I don't eat there. Mm-hmm. I get my food and I dip. I'm not sticking around. And whether it's light, whether it's dark, it doesn't matter. I'm not sticking around there. And it's a rough spot. It's a rough place. And yeah, you're right. To be able to wrangle that team together, it takes some leadership. And you're looking at, okay, what traits are you looking for in a head coach, right? Leader. Okay, he's exhibited that. He's able to bring a locker room together. He's able to have them follow him in his mission, his vision. Able to do that. Does he know the game? Yeah. He was a high level player in the NFL. His ex-coaches, his ex-teammates are all saying what a high football IQ he has. Mm-hmm. And Herm Edwards said the same thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we have, is he able to identify talent? Well, he said, get Jack Jones in here. Him and Champ Kelly were like, all right, get this dude. We need this guy. Comes in here and he becomes our best DB. He knows how to delegate tasks. He unlocked PG. Hey, man, whether it was, here's what I want you to do, or what I think is more, I think we both think it's more likely that PG said, hey, this is what I want to do with the defense. And AP was like, yeah, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Let PG off leash.
Yeah, PG off leash. Go ahead and do it. It's your defense. You know, like empowering people, putting them in positions to succeed. That's what high level CEOs do. Their businesses are always running well because no matter who leaves, he puts the right people in the positions of authority, of control. He's shown that he can do that. And he was given a quarterback that was not given a lot of attention to. That and the quarterback performed pretty well. So I don't know what else. I don't know what more Mark Davis has to see, other than let me just throw a random flyer out there for the big fish for Harbaugh, because I don't know if I'm Mark Davis. I'm not going to let Harbaugh hum and haw me for a while, because the more time it takes you to hire a front office and a head coach, the least amount of time, the less time they have to scout your own team, scout other players, scout the people coming into the draft, scout free agents. Like you want to get those people in there as
well. It's a balance between, you want to make sure you do your due diligence. You don't want to just like close your eyes and pick your head coach, right? You want the balance between, you need to do your due diligence, do your interviews, do your background checks, like do your research, and move quickly. Luckily, we're in that window where that doesn't matter. You can't even do in-person interviews till the 21st anyway. So it's not like he needs to hire tomorrow, but shouldn't be lollygagging. Like he should be like, this process like Mark Davis should have his crew together on the phone, doing Zoom interviews. Like that process should be going.
If I'm Mark Davis and I hit up Harbaugh like next week or whatever, he's like, I just want to take some time with my family and relax. But, all right, cool. Thanks. AP, let's do it. If he's going to slow play this, and so you have a chance of not getting, but you're comfortable with AP, I would just take AP, man. Roll with him.
you know Harbaugh's agent isn't, right? So Harbaugh's agent is wanting to go where the biggest money is. He hired an NFL agent in Yee, who's was Tom Brady's agent and the whole 9 yards. And Tom Brady's obviously got these ties to the Raiders and may own small minority stake in them, blah, 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 blah.
Wink, wink, wink. May.
I am not in the, like, again, you can't even do in-person interviews till the 21st. Like, this is the thing with the NFL. We talk about all the time. The NFL is brilliant at making this sport a 365 day a year thing. Like, they're
have
so
a stranglehold on that.
It is. They're so good at controlling the news cycle, because you go into, like, once the Super Bowl's over, like, why do they pick the 21st? Oh, because it's the conference championships are just about wrapping up. Once the Super Bowl's over, they want to make sure there's still news going on. They don't want coaches being hired during the playoffs, because that's taking away easy news cycle stuff. Like, the focus should be on the games. And then once the Super Bowl's over, now we want the coaching headlines to begin. Then we go into combine conversations, and then we go into the draft, and then we go into, you know what I mean? Like, that's why they don't. It is embedded into the NFL system to push the head coaching stuff back. So they have time. Like, the rules are literally built so you can't hire your coach yet. So there's time. If we get past the Super Bowl and Harbaugh's still slow jerking everybody, another conversation. As of right now, there's nothing you can do.
That's more so what I mean. Like, if by the time, because, like, what's there after the conference championships the next week? Nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when you want to start talking about who's going to go where, who's interviewing with who. Yeah, so they're brilliant. Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's like when it's time to sit down and talk to somebody, and Harbaugh's like, well, I really, my heart's in Michigan, and I don't know if he's doing all. I mean, not specifically like that, but he's kind of like being coy about it. Like, look, man, I want somebody that wants this job. I want somebody who wants this job.
Yeah.
AP and PG and Champ Kelly, they want this job. They want to be here. They want to give their all to the Raiders. Do you want to do that or not? Well, I do, but okay, nice. Thank you. Is it a yes or not a yes?
I mean, that's what I'm saying if I'm Mark Davis, but also the reason why they want that job is because it's their best and maybe only chance of getting that job in the NFL. Right. So I think there's that other part too, is like,
not for Champ Kelly, not for Patrick Graham.
Not for Patrick Graham. No, I mean, he can get a DC job a lot of places now.
I think you're underplaying Champ Kelly and his how people see him in the NFL, man. I think he can get a job, no problem. And he can get a promotion. He can get a GM job.
A GM job, no problem. I think it's possible. I don't think he's
I think he has a very high likelihood of getting one. More than not. I think he has a high probability of getting a GM job somewhere.
I think he has a good shot of getting it with the Raiders. I don't think he gets the head GM job this season anywhere else. I could be wrong. And we'll get into that in a little bit too. I do quickly want to get into this Vrabel thing. Like Vrabel has entered the chat randomly, according to Albert Breer. Our good buddy, Dan Helly, been on the show. Yesterday. Vrabel is a top 5 coach in the NFL. Debatable. Coach of the year 2 seasons ago. We'll see. If he doesn't end up in New England, I'll love to see him in Washington. That's, Helly's a Commanders fan. But the place I can really see him landing, ... Las Vegas. It never even crossed my mind. Mark Vrabel in Las Vegas. He's just so not the Raider way, without having, like a giant legacy, like a Belichick or a Harbaugh, like where you're like, okay, maybe you're not what I envisioned, but you won so much that whatever, right? I think Vrabel's a fine coach, but it never crossed my mind kicking the tires on Vrabel.
There's definitely a strong link. And as much as players love coaches, their bonds with their teammates, especially a teammate who you've won with, it's pretty hard to beat that.
Mm-hmm.
And if Tom Brady's hanging around the team, and maybe giving input on decisions, I can see this being a very strong possibility. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at
very strong possibility.
Of what?
Vrabel as coach?
If Tom Brady has some say in it, yeah, I can see definitely them making a big play at him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he in the, like when Breer was saying, it's like, oh, they might make a big splash, Harbaugh, Belichick, Vrabel. I feel like there's a giant drop off when you go you go Belichick, like the most winningest winner.
Bro, look,
won. You have Harbaugh who wins everywhere.
A couple years ago, Tennessee was the number 1 seed with freaking Ryan Tannehill at their quarterback.
He was coach of the year 2 seasons ago. I get it,
dude.
But so they're the number 1 seed 2 years ago, compared to 7 Super Bowls. Belichick won everywhere in college and pros. Harbaugh, like that's a big drop off.
Again, you're looking at traits. You're looking at attributes that this guy has, and he's younger.
Yeah, that's a big part.
He's younger. He's probably, and I'm going to push back a little bit on some people here, but he's probably more adept to handling the pro players of today.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a college coach, like you're more of a dictator than anything. So it's different than coaching professional athletes.
The big issue with Vrabel is though, it wasn't that he was a bad coach in Nashville and why he got fired from the Titans. It was because he was fighting with ownership so much. Like his vision didn't match the GM's vision, and so he was gone, right? Whereas like if you're Harbaugh or Belichick, like okay, you've earned the right to be your own. Whether it's the right or smart idea or not, Harbaugh and Belichick have earned the right to be able to say, I want to be GM. Whether it's the right or wrong move, they've earned the right to say, I'm going to be in charge, and it doesn't sound insane.
I think Belichick has lost that right.
Well, Vrabel has never earned that right. Has done nothing to say, I should be GM, coach, and czar of football for this franchise. And yet he was behaving that way. So I guess that's an issue for me. It's one thing to have Harbaugh say, I want to be GM. You're like, I don't want that, but I guess you've earned it. Whereas Vrabel, it's like you haven't earned it, and yet you're demanding it. That's a tough one for me.
Yeah, it's not optimal for sure, and I don't know that Mark Davis wants to go down that route.
Yeah, which
is another reason why I chose Harbaugh, probably a higher probability going to the Chargers, because he's going to want full control of everything. And when the Spanos give you full control of anything, it's kind of like with a wink and a nod, like, all right, yeah, you got full control until I say so, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot left. It's hard to tie yourself down with it. This guy's going here because there's so much. There's so much out there. If Belichick decides to either get kicked upstairs, right, to be like a Pete Carroll type thing, right? If he decides to do that, or he just decides to part ways, Vrabel's there like the next day. He's like, all right, I'm gonna move in, and you got to do what you got to do, but I'm gonna get the job.
That's why Vrabel's such a wild card for me, because I feel like like Mark Davis is gonna go the big splash, like Harbaugh, maybe even like a Belichick, and then it's like, okay, didn't work. I'm going with my guy. Whereas Vrabel's kind of neither. Like he's not my guy, but he is younger. He was coach of the year 2 seasons ago, but doesn't have a massive track record. He's neither my guy nor splash. He's just in the abyss somewhere. You know what I mean? Like which doesn't mean it's a bad hire. It just seems very not Mark Davis-y. Like AP, you know why? He's bleeds Raiders. He's everything Mark Davis wants as Raiders. Harbaugh's the splash one everywhere. Everyone wants Harbaugh. And then Vrabel's like just in his own category, floating around.
He's had more success in the NFL recently than the other 2 coaches.
Okay.
And look, if he's fighting with ownership about the personnel moves, you can't argue with the fact that the personnel on the team has been getting worse and worse the last couple of seasons.
Yeah. Well, that was the big thing, was like ownership, or the general managers in front office wanted to be like, okay, let's trade this team's not going to win a Super Bowl. Let's trade Derrick Henry. Let's trade our aging stars. Let's build some capital, restart. And Vrabel's like, no, let's do both. Like, let's try to win now with who we got while also building. And it just kind of hasn't worked. So speaking of GM, we're talking all this head coach stuff, rightfully so, but we'll probably hire a GM first. I would imagine probably what's going to happen. Either keep the guy we got.
Harbaugh.
Yeah, right.
It's Harbaugh. It's going to be a Gruden situation. He's going to come in and he's going to just get his name only type of GM.
Yeah, he'll be assistant GM, but you're making GM money, which I guess isn't probably all that bad, right? I'm I'm making GM money, but I don't have the same responsibility. It's like,
they're all fries.
Sign me up,
That's
right?
when the big bucks start rolling in.
Sign me up. A bunch of interviews have been lined up for the Raiders on the GM train. Whole bunch of them. The Raiders requested permission to interview 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters for GM, where the Commanders have done that as well. The Raiders requested an interview with Colts assistant GM Ed Dodds for GM position, per source. Former Chargers GM Tom Telesco, who presided over one of the most talented rosters for about a decade, will interview for the vacant Raiders GM job as well. And then to kind of throw a little mix in there, the Panthers have requested to interview Raiders GM Champ Kelly for their vacant GM job, sources say. So 3 guys brought in: Peters, Dodds, Telesco, and also the Bills director of player personnel, Terrence Gray, was requested. Raiders requested to interview him. So basically, those 5 guys are who we're looking at here. And again, interviews, it could be just kicking the tires. It could be extremely interested. Again, like, Champ Kelly get an interview. I still think I still think his only GM job, he has a real shot at getting his Raiders. Could be wrong. I think, these guys interview half a dozen people. And again, we're a week into this, half a week into it. But I like the guys we're talking to. I like Telesco the most. Chargers roster, for as bad as the Chargers flounder, the roster's been always tits. Like, it's never been an issue.
And for a long time too.
Having players has never been a Chargers problem. They've always had dudes that could play.
So what we're looking at here, well, look, what we're looking at is people who have come from situations that have been successful.
Yeah.
As far as roster building goes, all these places have built nice rosters, and for extended periods of time. All these situations, you bring them in because they have the pedigree. Once you sit them down, you talk to them and see if they have those traits that you're looking for. See if they're going to be agreeable. See if they're going to be able to get along with others. See if they're going to be able to be a good fit in your organization. And then you maybe compare what they're saying to what you've seen from Champ Kelly. And I don't have a problem with him bringing a bunch of people in and then hearing what they have to say in different situations of what would you do and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then you compare it to what you've actually seen Champ Kelly do in the job. And then
don't underestimate that second part that you said, where if you're so many owners and presidents, they'll interview dudes where maybe they don't think there'll be any chance they hire them, but they want to pick their brain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what do you think about this? Like, how would you build this roster? What are your strengths? What's your philosophy about scouting players? Like, that's because you're getting free consultations at that point. You know what I mean? Like, imagine being able, like, whatever field you're in, right? Let's say you sell insurance or you're a carpenter or you own a carpentry business and you get to have 6 of the world's best carpenters like fly to you and try to sell themselves to work for your company. You're not going to pick those brains. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
You're an architect and you bring in all the best carpenters. Yeah. You're going to pick their brains on things. And you get to kind of get a deeper picture of what you actually are as a team. Because now, like other teams that scout you, now they get to tell you what they think about your team and what they would do. So you get a more well-rounded picture of maybe a little bit deeper picture of what you actually have as opposed to what you thought you had in the past.
In Raider news, Jon Gruden was in court today,
looking dapper.
Seems like there's always a Raider in court every month or so.
But
things are going well for Gruden. So this was the NFL filing an appeal. This is the Nevada Supreme Court. So Jon Gruden won the injunction ruling, whatever it was, won the ability to have this not go to arbitration, but go to have it be a legal issue. right? Because the NFL always wants it in its arbitration because that's their kangaroo court. They control it. Nothing happens in arbitration when the NFL runs it. So Jon Gruden's like, no, you're not going to be judge, jury, and executioner for this. We're going to have an actual judge in the state of Nevada handle this for us.
Jury and executioner.
He won that. And so now it's the NFL saying, we don't want you to do that. That was done Wednesday on the 10th. He filed 2 years and 2 months ago. It's already been 26 months. And I know, like, I know this. Legal proceedings take forever. Like, if you ask, hey, RJ, do legal proceedings take forever? I'm like, yes, they do. But until you, like, feel it and you're like, okay, they haven't even gone to court yet. This is them appealing them. Can we go to court? And it's been 26 months. November of 2021.
It's going to be a long time, but we're getting really close because the first stage is discovery. That's the first stage is discovery. That's the very first stage. That's the very first stage. Is okay. Let me see what you got.
And it might be the last.
Oh yeah,
as long as we get
for a lot of these guys, it might be the last.
As long as we get there. Also in Raider news, we know our home and away schedule. We don't know the actual schedule will come out in several months, but we do know who we're playing and if we're home or away. Because we're AFC and it rotates, 8 home games, 9 away games. Although, because we're the Raiders, our real only home game is when we play the Chargers. So we have 2 home games and 15 away games, unless we're winning. Home games, obviously the AFC West, Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers. Cleveland Browns, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Jacksonville Jaguars. Away games, obviously 3 AFC West teams, Cincinnati Bengals, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baltimore Ravens, New Orleans Saints, Miami Dolphins, Los Angeles Rams. So 2 LA away games, which is nice. Playing the NFC South, which is awesome because they're terrible. And also playing the AFC North, which is tough.
That's tough. The best AFC division and the worst
NFC division. So, but also we've seen like divisions completely flop around. Like there's a lot of movement, but as of now, we're playing the best and the worst 2 divisions. And in this part of the schedule, we look at like, because the Raiders play in a dome, warm weather, it's like, where's the cold weather? We have a pretty nice away setup. The only cold weather games we can really play are Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously Chiefs too, but
and Broncos.
Yeah, right. Other than the guys we always play, right? Broncos and Chiefs. Hopefully we get Broncos, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens early in the season. But away games at the Bucks, right?
Good weather. That Ravens game, that was nasty, man. It was like just above like freezing level, so it was still just really cold rain, and it was pouring. That was a nasty weather game.
The Chiefs game this weekend, it has the potential to be the coldest NFL game ever played. It's at 0. It's projected to be 0 right now. What's the coldest NFL game ever played?
With wind chill, I think it was minus 15 or minus 16, something like that. It was the Ice Bowl.
The 1967 Ice Bowl, minus 13.
Yeah. That's nuts. Guys were running routes with their hands on their dick.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I freaking left for work on Monday. It was like 39 degrees Monday morning. I had like 5 steps out. I said, nope. Put on another one of these.
I had frost on my windshield Monday morning. Again, in Long Beach, California. We're not used to. I had to Google what frost was. I had it on my windshield. I was like you turn on the wipers and it's just again, turn on the defogger just to like get it. And it was chunks like I know you people are listening in like, Cleveland or something and it's 2 degrees and there's 12 feet of snow, but Long Beach, that's end of days. That's the sign of end of days.
Yeah, when you get into the 30s, you're like, what is going on here? Why are we doing this?
Why am I paying, $10,000 in property taxes to live in Southern California to have frost on my windshield? This is bullshit. Ready to do some What a Windbags?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Thomas Reynolds, 3590. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. We appreciate you. If we get a haul and not so much in dead cap, I'm okay with trading Davante Adams.
How about one of the two? Because you can get a haul, but you're gonna get dead cap too. So you're gonna get both.
Yeah, we're gonna get hit with a brutal.
You can't avoid that.
It's done. It's a done deal. The checks have already been signed. It's just whether it's going to be delivered or not. And so that has to be addressed in the hall, because there's like the value of a wide receiver. It's the value of Davante Adams. Like, oh, he's a first and a second. But
can he redo his contract to spread it out a little bit? Like, or do you want to just eat it all at once? Who knows?
Tanner Jack, 9520. They won't take Patrick Graham. They just have to do the Rooney Rule. I did a whole video on Patrick Graham getting interviewed or the Chargers requesting to interview Patrick Graham to be their defensive coordinator, which Raiders said no. Rightfully so. But I think the Rooney Rule part plays a factor here. I think that does need to be thought of when we're thinking like, oh, Antonio Pierce, there's getting requests to be interviewed as head coach. It's like, okay, all of our higher ups are black, right? So it's like that Rooney Rule thing with us is kind of a part of it, because so many, the Rooney Rule blows because you're forcing so many dudes to just be like, I know they're not going to hire me, but they have to talk to two of us. So here I am. Mm-hmm. It's just so depressing to me. Like, because there's no teeth to it, right? All you have to do is be like, I interviewed these two guys. Can we move on now? But
it sucks.
It is nice when it's inverted, when we can say like, okay, Patrick Graham, it's a Rooney Rule thing. We're still keeping him. Like, this is the rare instance where it's like, okay, good. I'm glad it's a kangaroo court here. I'm glad it's like make believe, because then no one's actually trying to take our beloved defensive coordinator.
So Hondo Carpenter got like super pissed off on Twitter or on X, whatever the hell you want to call it. And he says, disrespectful to say that of his coach. No, we know what a good coach Patrick Graham is. And we also know what a sham the Rooney Rule is. So we know that the chances are this is just kind of like checking boxes.
Yeah.
And
because we love him so much, we're glad that this is a sham box checker, because we want him to be our little secret.
He's not a secret, dude. I'm telling you, he's not a secret. When I was reading and listening to a lot of things, like I said about him coaching the Senior Bowl last year, a lot of people had eyes on him then, and then for him to do what he did with this defense, he's just kind of popped them up. I mean, a lot of people are looking at the names, and then these guys have the name and this and that. But every year, a couple of these guys get a chance, and I hope we get another year or so out of him.
That's the thing, is if he keeps doing this, he's going to be a head coach.
Oh, for sure.
This time next year, he'll be like, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to keep him for another season. Wonderful, beautiful. If he keeps doing this, he's gone. He's too good. And that's the other part when we keep talking about like, oh, we want Antonio Pierce. Everyone seems like, yeah, I really, really, really want AP, and we need to keep PG too. It's like, how much do you love Antonio Pierce as the head coach if he loses his defensive coordinator, you don't want him anymore? That's something to think about. Because like Patrick Graham will be gone.
He keeps doing what he's doing, yeah.
If he keeps this up, if he keeps coordinating at the high level that he is, he's gone, guys. He's gone. So you can't say, oh, Antonio Pierce is the man. Just hire the guy. Just hire him already. He's the dude. He'll keep PG and we'll be fine. It's like, no, PG's going to be gone, and AP is going to be here without a defensive coordinator. Think about that. And again, I'm not making a case against Antonio Pierce, but that is part of the equation. You can't just say, oh, yeah, AP and PG are connected at the hip. They're not. PG is, if he keeps doing this, he will be a head coach in 380 days, like after next season. And we're top 10 in scoring defense again with one superstar and like, half a dozen good players. We got some players, but one superstar and our defense is this good. PG is going to rightfully get the credit for that, and he's going to be gone. So think about that. When you say like AP's the man, he's the guy, let's get him. He'll keep PG. It's like for one season. Yeah. But that's part of it, man. How much of a great head coach is he, where if he loses his DC, you're over it? Lewis Corral, 3342. I think RJ needs some whiskey. I'm 10 days into dry January. I went grocery shopping yesterday, and it's so weird going to the grocery store and not buying booze. It's like, oh, groceries, it's like $47. I'm like, wow, normally it's $94. It's like, yeah, because you bought.
What do you mean you didn't see my ID?
Right? Why? Wow, you guys. Did I grow the beer out? Am I looking older? Is that why? Oh, wait, I'm just buying hot dogs and mustard. I actually bought. Have you ever drank those Celsiuses?
I've seen them. I have never had one.
I've seen them advertised everywhere. It just felt so weird, not like going to a grocery store and not paying $20 for a 12-pack of something. I bought a 12-pack of Celsius just to like
How are they?
feel right. Not bad. They do. So they're like, it's like an energy drink, but it's not caffeinated. It's supposed to like boost your, it's supposed to be like a weight loss, but enjoyable fit. I don't even know what it is.
Weight loss, bro.
It's supposed to like burn weight, but give you energy. I didn't really read it. It looked like White Claws. So I was like, okay, this is close enough. I'm going to drink you.
Maybe if I tell my mind they're White Claws.
Right?
So right, there's this sewer at my work, right? And she's this older Vietnamese lady. I don't know where. I think I talked about her before. She brings me like random booze, like just random,
What an
like,
angel.
Mismatched like 12 packs of like different kinds of beer. I'm like, where is she getting it from? She brought me these. I'd never seen these drinks before. I think they're called Monaco, like the city or the country, Monaco. And they're like they're a tequila drink, but it's like watermelon flavored tequila drink, and it's carbonated. It's called Monaco, and I'm like, where are you getting this stuff? I've never seen this before. And she just gave me like a 12-pack of it, and she's like, "Here, you'd like to drink?" I'm like, "I guess."
She's trying to get you all fucked up so she can leave work early.
I let them go whenever they want. I don't care.
A buddy of mine, Beansy. I think you've met him. I work with him used to work with him at Fox Sports. Now I work with him at UFC. And I had a party years ago. I think it was the Halloween party. You were there, and he brought like the most hilarious grab bag thing of booze. And so, like, oh, people come and they'll bring a 30-pack or a bottle of whiskey or a bottle of wine. It's like, oh, here you go. He came, and his cooler was a diaper box with ice. That was his cooler. And it was the most grab bag assortment of booze ever, but it was
whatever he had in his fridge.
It was literally like whatever, because he has a giant bar in his garage, and it was literally whatever bottles were kind of already open and whatever remnant beers weren't in the boxes. He just grabbed those, put it into a box of Huggies, filled it with ice, and brought it over. There were 3 bottles of margarita mix. Every one of those bottles were full between a third full and like a sixth full. There was like 2 Bud Lights, a Coors Light, 3 Coronas.
Yeah, that was weird.
2 like Schlitzes. And then there was an open bottle of white wine with the cork, cork taken out, cork put back in, half a bottle of that. But it was great. It was kind of like there was something for everybody. And there was just
everyone was like, ooh, look at that.
It's like, oh, I'll drink, I'll take that. I'll drink that. And doesn't have to worry about leaving his cooler because it was just a diaper box full of ice. And he didn't have to like go shopping, go to the liquor store, just grabbing whatever was there. And as like a function, like I'm not like the thought that matters guy. I'm a practical guy. That was the most, and I appreciate how practical of a booze bringer he was. And he was only there like 30 minutes. So like the amount of booze you bring to how long you're there ratio.
He just wanted to get rid of those bottles, man.
He just wanted to get rid of the bottles. And it's at a party. So people are going to drink it, right? Like all those bottles got open that were there.
Is that the year when it's Kurt Cobain?
When it was Kurt Cobain? Oh, no, that wasn't the Drunk History Halloween party. That was another.
Oh, that was a good party.
That was the wife's idea. That was brilliant. It was right when Drunk History was like season 2, when it was killing it, and everyone was super into it.
My ex-wife,
was Winston Churchill.
My ex-wife went as Courtney Love, and I went as we gotta find that picture.
They're around.
Yeah,
they're floating around.
And I was Kurt Cobain, and I reenacted the famous Guns N' Roses Axl Rose like incident at the MTV Music Awards.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good.
I was so drunk, I was just giving like Winston Churchill's entire biography that people just started like clapping me off. They're like, "Shut up, RJ." People just started like, clapping. They just started like clapping, just like slow clapping. Great job, RJ. Okay, you're off. I'm like, oh, okay. Smoking my giant Winston Churchill cigar, barely able to walk.
How sick did you get smoking that thing?
I get sick every time I smoke a real cigar. Because every time I'm like, do you want
to smoke it? You're smoking like a cigar, like a cigarette. Like you can't smoke it like that, dude.
I don't inhale. I taste. The problem is I smoke a cigar once or twice a year. And every time I'm just like, oh, give me bold, give me a big one. I should be smoking like a lighter or milder one. I should be smoking a normal size cigar.
Little torpedo one.
Little torpedo. But instead I'm just like, give me the Winston Churchill and I want it bold.
Oh, and God. Your freaking tongue the next day just feels like it's like this fat and just dried out.
Hawking loogies up. And
tastes like a cat's ass.
But you feel so cool doing it. Feels so cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, that's it for us. No post-game shows. Season's over. If crazy things happen after the playoffs this weekend, we might do something live just to kind of give you guys. It's no longer necessary. It's when necessary, if that makes sense. So you bet your ass when we hire a head coach, we'll go live. GM will go live. Big trades, whatever, will be there. Otherwise, we'll just crank stuff out as we go along. And until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.